Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and there's going to be another round of Brexit talks next week, the seventh round of Brexit talks. We'll have to see if these ones stay the course. So the schedule has been released. I'm going to take a quick look at that first of all. Then what I want to do is to explain what has been said by the Irish Prime Minister as well as David Frost on the part of the UK about whether a deal is likely. Certainly both sides are talking up the prospects for it, but also do not expect to see any movement next week. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So at the moment, there are, in terms of trying to observe the goings on with the Brexit negotiations, there's several possibilities to explain what's generally going on. There is the possibility that Boris Johnson just wants to make a show of negotiating, but ultimately he wants the no-deal Brexit and he wants to send us out with the no-deal Brexit. And that, can be explained by the fact that he's refusing to even accept his own withdrawal agreement, and he's coming up with lots of silly arguments that shouldn't even be a feature of the negotiations. That makes sense. There is the other side of it, where Boris Johnson believes he can get a deal, but all he has to do is sit on his hands until the 11th hour and the EU will back down on everything. And he genuinely believes that the EU need us more than they need to preserve the integrity of their precious single market. We know that's not true, but it is possible that he believes that. And again, events can be explained by that mindset. Then there's the possibility, which is emerging at the moment, that he does genuinely want a deal. He doesn't expect the EU to back down on some of the things that some Brexiteers are saying. But he also knows that to get a deal that the EU will accept, but also that he can sort of force on his own party back home, he is going to have to wait till the last minute anyway. So in other words, his game of chicken isn't with the EU. It's with his own Brexit supporters back home. He wants to be able to pounce and announce the deal before they get time to mobilise opposition towards it. Now, the agenda that has come out is as follows. So next Tuesday in the evening, there's going to be a chief negotiators dinner. So Michel Barnier, David Frost, just, informally discussing how they intend the week to go ahead. Topics for discussion. Obviously, you've got different groups discussing things in different rooms. So one group will be discussing the level playing field for open and fair competition. They'll be doing that throughout the 2 main days of negotiations. You've then got your horizontal arrangements and governance. Fisheries is in there. There's 4 blocks of fisheries being discussed there, which is something the UK don't want to discuss at all. Trading goods, trading services, law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. Energy, mobility, social security coordination. Participation in union programmes, which, remember, Boris Johnson has said he doesn't want to do, but at the same time is absolute madness. Transport, road transport, and then transport aviation. So for trade, I imagine largely, but also just people travelling between the EU and the UK. And then governance for aviation, governance for social security, coordination. All of these are topics where you wouldn't have thought the UK government wanted to have the talks at all. So you can certainly see after next week, there's going to be on that Friday, chief negotiators breakfast and or plenary. Then it should be followed by press conferences, assuming the talks run their course this time. Here's the thing, the way it looks, I'm 50-50 on this. I genuinely do expect movement. I expect us to get something that Boris Johnson will call a deal. Whether it's actually a deal as we'd understand it is a different matter. But I don't expect that at the end of October, Boris Johnson will announce that there has been no deal possible with the EU. I do not expect that. I don't rule it out. And there's a number of reasons for this, but partly the reason for this is shown by the fact that Boris Johnson and the people around him who speak in terms of Brexit are all talking up the prospects of getting a deal. Now, Boris Johnson has been meeting the new Irish Prime Minister, Michael Martin. And Martin was saying that, in fact, I'm going to quote him, he talked about a landing zone. So the idea is you've got this EU plane, you've got this UK plane, and they can't find any ground to land on. There's this island of opportunity, this landing zone that's possible if both sides have the will to use it. And he was talking up his optimism in terms of trade talks, and he said that he genuinely believes that Boris Johnson wants a deal, that he genuinely wants a deal. Now, I don't know whether Mr. Martin genuinely believes that Boris Johnson wants a deal or not, and if he does, whether that doesn't necessarily mean that Johnson genuinely does want a deal or not. But here is the thing. They have been speaking much more optimistically. Like Michael Gove, I was talking about recently, has been talking more optimistically about a deal because he kept talking about, there's been some useful movement from the EU. And yet there hasn't been any movement from the EU since the last talks, of course, because at the end of the last talks, they were saying the EU haven't moved on anything. And yet apparently, when there haven't been any extra talks taking place, they've moved. So we're led to believe. That's fine, that's okay. The only thing, when I was trying to read from a proper Brexity paper, so I looked in the Express to see what they're talking about. So the Express are reporting that the EU have backed down on the European Court of Justice having a say on any matters dealing with, issues related to any trade deal. And you sort of think to yourself, it's not really a backing down that, because any matters pertaining to European law, they said, as in EU law, will be decided by the European Court of Justice, of course, just like any matters of UK law would be decided by, ultimately, the Supreme Court in Britain. I mean, that's just obvious. Now, what they will be talking about is disputes. So if the UK and the EU agree a deal, but then at some point one side says that the other side isn't sticking to its end of the bargain, there needs to be a court that will deal with disputes. Now, it is perfectly possible to set up an international court that is run jointly by the EU and the UK, because that exists. I think that exists between the EU and Canada, doesn't it? Or has been proposed at any rate. But these sort of things exist. Now, that could well be what has been said, in which case the EU have never opposed that. But if that's what they're talking about, then what you might be looking at is some sort of deal where Boris Johnson says, we've done this and they have agreed that the European Court of Justice will not decide on matters, blah, 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 blah. When in actual fact, what it'll be is, the European Court of Justice will still decide on matters related to European Union law. And second, which will apply to certain goods, standards of goods being traded in the EU. But when it comes to a dispute, it will still be decided by an international court. I mean, that's the bottom line. Be an international court. And some people will point out, yes, but this will be an international court that's jointly run by the EU and the UK. It'll be both of ours. I mean, that's what the European Court of Justice was when we were members of the EU, because we were jointly running that as well. There's no difference. But it will be sold as a difference. And if that, to be honest, if they want to play semantics, no problem at all if it gets us close to an actual genuine deal. However, like I said, next week we will not see any actual movement, even though I do believe we will see some movement at some point. And this is down to what David Frost, the chief negotiator, said. So he was also given a bit of a statement recently, this week, and he was talking about the optimism for a deal and echoing these words about, yes, we can absolutely see a deal forming now. We can start to see it. The fog is lifting, blah, 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 blah. His exact words. Our assessment is that agreement can be reached in September, and we will work to achieve this if we can. Key point. Our assessment is that agreement can be reached in September. Not by September, not even by the end of October. All he had to do was, if he believes we can get a deal in the time, is to say, yeah, we can absolutely get a deal by the end of October. Remember, Boris Johnson said we would get a deal by the end of July. No ifs or buts. He didn't put any qualifiers on it about the EU behaving themselves. He said we will definitely get a deal by the end of July. Obviously, we didn't. It all went very quiet after that. Again, our assessment is the agreement can be reached in September. So it's August at the moment. Next week will still be August. This sounds to me like, I've been talking about recently my suspicion of this, and I had a number of people in the comments saying, no, Phil, you're being naive. And maybe I still am, but this still follows. It fits with what they're saying. It sounds to me like the UK are ready to deal, but again, to show that they've put up a good fight and got the best deal for Britain, they need that deal to be agreed late on. It did them no good. They may have already agreed behind closed doors with the EU, and I know people are saying, oh, the EU are very open about stuff like that. You may be being naive there. They announce things, yes, things discussed or announced. Little backroom deals happen everywhere. Don't delude yourselves. But it may be that the UK have agreed something with the EU, and that is why both sides are talking about this optimism now. And it's maybe clear that the UK have said, look, we'll agree to this, but we're not going to publicly agree to it until September. And that's what they're doing. So it may be that at the end of September, all of a sudden they come out with this deal as if it's been sorted out overnight, just like with the withdrawal agreement. And all the optimism and bonhomie, and Boris Johnson will sell all these things as if he's got exactly what he wanted from the start and push it all through before anyone has got time, any of the Brexiteers have got time to look at it and object to it before it's all signed, sealed and delivered. We will have to wait and see. Now, I will just finish off with the same thing I echoed last time I sort of talked about this. I believe that the UK government think this is what's going to happen. They think that they've got something that the EU will agree to, but they're not going to come out with it until September. Now, it's possible they've already agreed it with the EU privately, off the record, and it will all work and it'll be fine. It is equally possible that they just think they know what the EU will agree to, and that they haven't spoken to the EU about it yet, and that when they do, they expect the EU to agree to it, and they may have made a miscalculation. Now, so I'm not saying that that means we will get a deal. And also, the great unknown still, the elephant in the room as well, is still the ERG, the very anti-EU core of the Eurosceptic wing of the Tory party, which is now very much present, in terms of the parliamentary party. We don't know what they would think to it, because they don't know what the deal is even if the government have sort of decided. So that is the situation. I'm afraid it's going to be another, don't expect any movement next week. David Frost, I'm pretty sure, has sort of let the cat out of the bag here. Expect movement in September, probably late on in September, but expect the movement to come in September, not August. That's how I would read it. You let me know how you would read it. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.